The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. As the music was playing, we had a call come in on the long distance line, and we don't want to have to make them pay for all the calls, so what's going on over there?
Well, Russ needs a piece of paper. I'm trying to hand him one.
I went through I've got a dozen under here.
He's ruffling through notes trying to find one with a blank back.
I turn them over. On the front side is our partner spots and stuff, but on the back side, I turn them over, and it's like notes about building the studio. This wire goes here, this wire goes here. I'm like, I'm never going to remember this stuff.
Well, and I think because our producer, he's a songwriter, I think I saw hymn notes on the back of one of those that you had. That one in your hand right there.
Then I got one here. It says, my mom won't let me charge $1 on her credit card to ask a mechanic online about this problem. So she told me to call you. That was a great one.
I remember that.
We will help you out.
Now he's got all kinds of paper.
I got paper over here, too.
I was watching him rifle through, and I was actually getting entertained by the different things he was pulling out.
Producer Doug used to ask me every week, do you need some paper? But when I finally told him about 100 times, no, I'm good, he said, fine, I'm just not going to ask you
Next
anymore.
time he comes in the studio, there's going to be like reams of paper stacked up over there.
It might be.
I just have a notepad right here. That's has notes on it from 2 months ago that I've crossed off. Let's go to Texas and talk to Kendall. You're on the Under the Hood Show, Kendall. What can we do for you?
Yes, sir. Thank you for accepting my call. It's my first time calling you guys. I listen on the podcast side.
Cool.
I bought a 2004 F350. It's my first diesel. It's a 6.0 liter. I have 147,000 miles on it. Trying to tell a long story to a short story. When I originally bought the truck, I went to put it on the scanner because the problems it was giving me. When I first started on the top today, it turned right over and started.
We're just losing you there. I got a little iffy there on the cell phone. Let's try that again. What was the last part?
Yeah, get a little closer and just steady.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
When I first started my truck, it fires right up. Throughout the day, I had to spray starter fluid and just get the start. And also, whenever I smash on the gas, the accelerator real hard, whenever I make a free stop, it'll die on me. So I put it on the scanner at someone's shop, and it said the number 4 injector. It said the ICP relay, and it said the fuel pressure regulator. I changed the fuel pressure regulator, and I changed the ICP relay. I took it for a test drive. It stopped down on me when I made a complete stop. It stopped doing that. I turned the truck off, and I was trying to get the start without putting starter fluid in it. So I kept turning the truck over, and it made a loud pop noise, sound like a misfire. Once it made that misfire, from my understanding, I blew my starter. I drug it back to the house. I put a new starter on it. I haven't got the crank up, even with starter fluid since then. I put a new injector pump in it, and also I put new glow plugs in there. Like I said, even with starter fluid now, it won't even start up.
Oh, boy. Well, the hard part is that if you put some parts on it to try to fix it, if any of those are bad, it's going to make it harder to figure out. So save those old parts. It sounds like you have a bad FICM, fuel injection control module. It's up on the driver's side top of the engine, and they're famous for going out on these vehicles. It's an item that if you pick a truck up used, a lot of people will replace them with a heavier duty unit or even just a good replacement. But if that unit goes bad, that's controlling that injection, and it just won't run. So from what you're describing, that sounds like what's going on. There are some tests you can follow online on YouTube and things to kind of give you an idea of what it might be. To test that unit. But if you turn the key on, you don't hear any noise at all. When you first turn the key on, it doesn't click or anything. Usually that's an indication that thing is just dead. And they go bad. They just fail, and then the truck won't start, or you turn the key on and it won't heat up and fire. You spray starting fluid in, it'll go. But then you give it gas and it fails. But the other thing that'll take out one of those is if you have an injector problem, that can control that can cause that to fail. Injectors on those trucks do fail. The fuel injection control modules do fail. What we like to do is, if we've got a bad fuel injection control module, we will test the resistance of the injection, and then we'll put the new module in so we don't burn up a new module. But that's something to be looking towards is that fuel injection control module.
Okay.
Well, and it just, I feel for you because it sounds like you've part started a few parts at this, trying to figure it out.
Expensive.
Yeah, and nothing you mentioned there is affordable. I mean, that stuff's all costs a lot of money.
Even the starter's a lot of money.
Yeah, and to know that you cranked it enough that you killed the starter, that you were trying.
Mm-hmm.
What made you get the diesel? Was it what was available, or did you really want one?
I really wanted one, and also I'm trying to start me a hot shot business, so I originally bought the truck for that. So somebody told me that wasn't really a good buy because it was a 6.0, but I got it dirt cheap. So, I bought it.
Is it still cheap? I didn't mean that to be I meant that just a question. You spent a lot of money on it, but yeah, those 6-liter diesels, when they work good, they are extremely affordable torque for pulling stuff. We've got one of those trucks we use ourselves for a rig that we pull campers with when we get a salvage camper. If they've got to go out and pull a trailer that's a little bit heavier, both at our service center that Russ manages.
A couple of the guys have
his
them.
Assistant manager Jake and his son. They both have those trucks with 6 liters in them. And when you understand the truck, they are very affordable horsepower and torque for pulling. And the trucks are solid. Those Super Duty trucks are solid. And I'm guessing if it's one you got in Texas, the body's probably really nice on it. It probably looks good yet, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's probably worth figuring out. But if you get to the point where you feel like you're throwing too many parts at it and you haven't figured it out, get to an independent diesel repair shop that tells you that they've worked on these trucks, that they know these trucks. Because we had ours break down out on the road here. What's that been, about a year ago or last year?
Yeah.
And our guy that was working on it, he's mechanically aptitude. He was trying to communicate with different people. We ended up getting towed to one diesel shop, and it was, it ended up being we towed it back to our shop so that Russ and Jake and them guys could take a look at it. But it costs some injectors, and then now just recently that same truck had the FICM go out on it, the fuel injection control module, and that might have been a result of that problem we had a year ago.
The injectors were out, yeah, it could have took a toll on.
But I mean, make sure you manage your fuel injection system. You got to have good fuel. If you listen to the podcast, I'm sure you've heard us talking about this stuff. But make sure your fuel, get a conditioner every time in there. If you're not
fuel filters regularly.
Yeah, and fuel filters regularly, and just make sure you're up on using a good quality oil filter. Because the oil levels and oil quality are part of the way that whole system works together. And if your oil's not being kept good and the levels are low, that fuel injection system won't work either. It depends on oil pressure. So it all works together. And so the more you understand, you'll learn about it. But the parts are expensive. And that's why we do recommend to some people, if you don't need a diesel, don't buy a diesel. But if you're going to be pulling heavy hot tubs and trailer loads of that kind of stuff, I think he said hot tubs, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Hot shot.
Did he say hot shot?
Hot shot.
Did I hear hot tubs?
Maybe he's going to hot shot.
What are you doing? Hot tubs or hot shots?
Hot shot. I'm trying to start my business.
I still didn't hear what he said.
He says hot shot. He's trying to start a business.
Okay, Chris, you and I heard it completely wrong. We wanted to get in a hot tub.
I'm ready. Kendall, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Russ, you said something there that stuck out to me.
Hot tub?
Hot tub stuck out to Chris and I.
If you have a issue and you kind of go under there and you go, well, I'm going to do all this other stuff anyway. I might as well do that too while I'm doing it. You got to you might have to pinpoint the problem before you start doing the stuff you were going to do, knowing it's time you're going to put in new plugs or
yeah. Well,
because that can burn you.
That's the thing. You never want to just throw some parts on. So let's say you've got a car and it just died. And you said, well, you know what just died? I'm going to throw all these other parts on here too because I was working on it. Let's fix the problem we had, unless it requires taking something off anyways and you're going to replace it. But if you're just let's say your distributor goes out and you don't have any spark, I don't know, and you know that's got to be replaced. But when you do that, you say, you know what? I was going to upgrade the computer while I was in there. I know it has nothing to do with the spark, but I'm putting this distributor in. Let's throw that computer in. Let's put a couple injectors in it too. Let's replace that turbo. Well, why doesn't it run now? Well, the part you replaced is fine, but you just put something on bad that was good before. And sometimes that happens and it can really throw us. So we like to replace the part that failed, hear it run, and then start replacing the other ones individually so we know what we've got ourselves into.
Kind of like the pit stop. Hey, the car's running really good. What'd you do? I don't know. We changed everything. We're not sure.
Kendall, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Scott. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Scott, what can we do for you?
Hi, good morning, guys. So I'm curious what you would recommend for a OBD2 or a scanner for today's vehicles. I have a 2011 Chevrolet Suburban, 2013 Chevrolet Impala, and I do have an issue with the Impala that I'm kind of trying to figure out. Service engine soon light is on. I brought it to a certified Chevrolet dealer, and they've tossed parts at it, and it's still on. First it was a gas cap, then it was this, then it was this, then it was this. So I went out, I bought a used Autel Maxxis MS 906 BT. I got it for really cheap compared to or inexpensive compared to what I've seen them go for. But then I found out I do need to spend another like $400 to get all of the vehicle downloads. Basically, right now it's a blank reader. So I was wondering, do I put the extra money into it, or do you guys recommend a different scanner that can do everything? So one of the things that on top of this, my 2011 Suburban, I can't just go out and buy a new key fob for it and like go through some type of configuration with the vehicle. I actually need a scanner or tool to sync that up to it. So that's another reason why I'm going to get some type of scanner that does that as well. And that was one of the reasons why I looked at this MS 906 BT. Hopefully that's not too confusing, but before I sink another $400 in this, do you have something that you'd recommend that kind of does everything? And when I say everything, I mean everything, not just a basic scan and clear.
Well, first, what you need to do is look at the scanner look at all the scanners you think you might want. Look them up on YouTube and see how they work and decide, okay, this one will do what I want it to do. And then you can make your decision on a purchase after that. But the Autel scanners are pretty good. We've got a few of them in our shop that we use on different things. And I do like the idea of being able to download the packages for your unit at will. So you don't have to get everything, but you can get the ones for the GM cars and trucks and things and not have to buy ones you don't have to buy the modules for the ones you're not going to use. So you can save some money. Plus, by doing that, any scanner you're going to have to update as you go for the new cars as they come out. But when you buy it, you're going to be assured that you're going to get the latest update that is out for your vehicle. So if you purchase it and you got a blank scanner and you purchase the modules to work on the vehicles you have, they're the latest and greatest that's going to be out there. With other ones and some of the Autel stuff, you have to buy subscriptions every year to get that information to download it. And with us, it's every month we pay like $125 a month per scanner to keep them updated to the most current, so we can do every car. That's not something that everybody wants to do. If you're doing it at home, you don't want to pay $125 a month to keep a scanner current. You want to, or $1,500 a year on that. You just want to buy one package. If it's current today for a 2011 or even a 2020, it's should be current for quite some time for the older models like that. So yeah, I would, I'd be perfectly happy with that Autel.
Will he be able to do the programming or syncing that he needs to do for that remote control?
That's what I said. You're going to have to look. The Autel scanners will do that, and they will do keys and everything to a point. You've got to pay for some of those subscriptions, but you want to make sure that whatever package you're buying for it does include that.
Well, and it may be such a thing, Scott, that you find out that, okay, I got to pay an extra X to get the ability to do that key fob or whatever. You might call, there's getting to be a lot, I'm not going to say a lot more, but there's some very skilled people that have jumped into the space with locksmithing and the keys and the fobs. And they've got the correct, what is it? I can't remember, how is it? NASTIF licensing to do a lot of things with the keys and the fobs. And they've kind of made specialized businesses out of this. And so you might find that, if I get a hold of one of these independents that are doing this stuff, I can pay them one time to take care of this particular problem,
right?
And not have to spend a bunch of money for something I have never done before, and I might only do once.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes it's cheaper. It's kind of like, do you want to go buy a boat and insure it and store it all year, and you're going to use it 5 or 6 times a year, or if you go rent it and it's $300 a time, you're like, oh, $300 a time. But then at the end of the year, you go, wow, I saved so much by renting, and then I didn't have to store it.
Yeah.
So with the
where are we going to
keys
store the boat, honey? Oh, that's right. We don't have to store a boat.
Yeah, and with the keys, same thing. It's like, do I pay $150 to $200 to get some stuff programmed and then walk away, and I don't have to worry about this scanner anymore, or do I buy it?
Or are you one of those people who wants to have it even if you don't use it? I mean,
there's people that are
As
definitely
much.
that way, and I got a sense that Scott might be that way. Right, Scott?
Yeah, if you're asking, that's exactly what I meant. It's not just about the key fob. It is about.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to be able to say he can do it and do it.
right.
I bought so many
Right.
tools that just sit because it was cheaper to buy it than to rent it or pay somebody to do it.
If you knew you were going to use it for an extended period of time.
I've got
or
stuff
for
that I've never used again, but it's
I'm not-
like, I have one of those.
Yeah.
and you meet somebody on the corner and you go, I got that.
You want to borrow it?
Yeah.
I'm telling people all the time, you want to borrow this? Somebody should use it. I want to see it work.
Exactly. Yeah. If you need this, I got it. Well, I don't need it. Oh, I can bring it over. Scott, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That is that game can get very expensive and very involved.
Well, and just to kind of, for the rest of our listeners out there, I sure feel like he's trying to go next level than the code readers that most people can get their hands on quite easily.
Right.
We have that question a lot. People
Yes.
do want to step up to do the next thing, but I always have to, caveat, you've got to look on YouTube and watch your model scanner that you want to buy. Does it do exactly? Have you seen somebody use it for what you want? Because the descriptions can be a little iffy.
Sure.
Oh, it's capable of doing this with the purchase of 10 other things.
Yeah, no, that's important to know that. But, it seems like you can get a code reader out of a Cracker Jacks box anymore.
You can.
They're just available really cheaper. But like I said, that's going to just give you the basic trouble codes and maybe give you an interpretation of what that code number means. But what Scott's talking about here is an actual scanner where he wants to look at data, he wants to do some control, he wants to do some programming. But there are some scanners that are not a lot of money, some code readers that are quite capable. So I think, Russ, your advice is really, really good. Take the time, jump onto the YouTube.
The YouTuber.
Get on the YouTube.
Yep, and check it out.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. I have $1 million idea that occurred to me during Scott's call.
Are you going to give it away?
Yeah, I think so, because I'm sure it's already
Okay,
exists.
all right.
That's how all my $1 million ideas work.
Most of mine are that way too.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget you can watch the show on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe to that, you could win a hoodie if you join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com.
Like Jeff McElroy, congratulations from all of us here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute. They're very techy there.
You would
They're
think.
universally techy.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to learn about cars and motorcycles and power sports, ATVs, UTVs, marine mechanics, outboard motors, inboard motors, inboard, outboard motors, IOs,
Mm-hmm.
airplane mechanics, just tons. I mean, that's where I'd go if I was starting
Mhm.
over.
UTI.edu.
Mhm.
You know, the other day, John from UTI NASCAR Institute that we talked on
Yep.
our after show one time, he posted a picture on one of his social media accounts, but it was his NASCAR license when he was 16 years old.
Interesting.
And then it was stamped minor.
Oh, that's
It was
funny.
I just thought it just popped into my head when you talked about UTI because they've got the NASCAR Institute there also. But
Mhm.
John has been on the show with us, and his family was on the beach racing Daytona,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's got a lot of good stories. But
Well, they
that
should
was
do
fun.
that again. They're doing the special
Hey!
races. They should just do one on
They're bagging the dirt. No more dirt at Bristol.
Oh, really?
The-
Okay.
The novelty's over.
Okay.
It sounds like most of the drivers are happy.
I bet.
Yeah, and I think the track's happy. I think they're sick of having to pressure wash their bleachers and their condos, but I'm guessing that dirt will still be there for the World of Outlaws. Maybe I don't know, but I just saw that, and then they're going to bring the Clash back and do it at the Coliseum in L.A. for a second time.
Third time.
Yeah, it would be the third time.
Yeah.
Oh wow, time flies.
I'd like to see them pull out the old cars, like say once a year. You're racing old cars, like from the 70s.
I think they've done it. I think our show contributor Ron sent a video of them doing that.
I've totally missed it if they did because I'd really enjoy see the new guys pulling out the cars from Cale Yarborough, that type.
Yeah, I think they do some of that stuff, but boy, they got to be careful. That stuff's pretty
Sounds
valuable.
dangerous as all get out.
It is, and it's slower, but
Especially
it is amazingly fast for that kind of car.
not to sound like an old man, but if you got a kid who's never driven anything but a newer NASCAR and then put him in an old,
I got a feeling a couple of these guys could do just fine.
I just worry about bumping or
Yeah.
not having the same safety in place.
they'd have to add safety to the inside of the car,
Mm-hmm.
but the outside of the car would still be the outside, the drivetrain, power plant, all that stuff. I'd like to see the old stuff, but as far as safety, I think the rules probably wouldn't let them go
Right.
without the safety. You'd need the Hans device and all that. And
Oh boy.
Let's talk
All
to
that good
Steve.
stuff.
Steve, you're on the End of the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Not a generic oil question.
Okay.
I go to the cheapest place in town to get oil, and they put in the conventional cheap stuff. I was gifted a few quarts of synthetic. Is that something I can add to mine? Is that, if it gets a little low someday I'm on a trip, or is that a bad thing to mix conventional and synthetic?
well, you don't get the protection you do. It's you just got a better oil with a not so good oil. I'm trying to compare something else that you could, if you had something really good and you put something else with it. Let's say you have 2 cans of white
Whole
paint.
milk and skim milk?
No, if you got 2 cans of white paint for your house and they're both exterior, but one's like a 20-year, guaranteed paint. It's amazing. And the other is like you're lucky if it holds up a year paint. If you mix them together, it's not going to make it any better because you got the really good quality paint.
It's
going to be
10-year
junk.
paint.
Yeah. So if you're mixing, if you're topping it off with the synthetic, it's just a better quality oil. So it's not going to hurt anything, but you're not going to get like super synthetic protection by going with partially. But you bring up a good point. Changing your oil regularly with a oil that meets minimum specifications for your car, but still meets those specifications, if you change it more often, is often better than changing it at a longer interval and using a better oil, because you keep the thing cleaner and the protection's there. You don't. My theory is that if you've got an oil that protects the car, if you can get the dirt out of the thing, you're better off. You might get better protection from a synthetic because the molecules hold up better, and the little ball bearings in the oil, so to speak, they're keeping the protection there. But it doesn't matter how good a protection you have. If you throw a pile of rocks in there, you're still going to scratch things up and you're still going to wear stuff out. The filter can only filter so much. So my theory is let's use, I like to use the better quality oils, but I also like to keep it changed at a reasonable amount of time.
In Steve's case, he's not going to do he can use it and top up.
I'm just going to throw this out there, Steve, that if you're having to add oil on your trip, I don't think you should be worried about what oil you're putting in.
Well,
yeah, usually it doesn't happen, but it's my granddaughter that comes over and needs a top off.
Yeah, and I guess to answer the question from what we see, and I know there's a lot of guys that listen to this show that are oil experts that are probably sitting there just going, don't say that. But they're not going to coagulate weird, or you're not going to get some ball of jelly in your thing if you mix a couple of different quarts of oils. But
don't mix weights.
But it's not ideal. I mean, you're wasting energy. But if you've got them there, it'll lubricate, it'll do its job, and it's going to be fine. But you're not going to make the rest of the oil become better.
Especially if you're topping off a car that you have to add 2 quarts a week to.
Well, and you're putting a better oil in. It's not a lower quality. It's a higher quality. So it's just not.
Definitely don't go that way.
If you're not paying for it, you're totally fine.
API service grade is on the can of oil, and your vehicle has an equivalency that it needs to be that or higher. And there's lots of different ways you can look that up and find out. Chris is shaking his head.
You can look it up until you're 100 years old, and you'll never make any sense of it.
Oh, you're just not trying hard enough.
Go look at it.
No, there's a lot of letter codes and stuff. I know.
So many. KPLS, KPS. What does that mean? Well, they should just fix that.
You think they should give it
they should do something. I don't know.
How about a letter? They probably started off, it was ABC. And then
they should have started at 1. Use number 2 in your car. Now it would be use number 8,464 in your car.
Is transmission fluid better or worse in the way they what they call transmission fluids than oil?
Well, they keep adding to the fluids, but they all have a designation. Use Dextron 3. What kind? Dextron 3. Use Dextron 6. Well, what kind? Dextron 6.
So that's more specific.
Yes. Use, Mopar fluid. Use ZF fluid.
But Dextron 6 will also cover, sometimes, right?
Well, right, they do. The other manufacturers will say, use Dextron 6 in our transmission. They're specific, but they give you a quart. You go buy the quart that meets that specification.
Okay, long answer, short question.
You're fine.
You're fine.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Colorado and talk to Dave. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Dave, what can we do for you?
Boy, that was quite an answer you guys just gave. My goodness. Well, I got an '05 Caravan, and I've got a really annoying clunk when I shift, and the harder I put the brake on, it quiets down quite a bit, but it's still there, even if I put it to the floor, And so I'm wondering what you think I'd be looking at that way.
So when you're parked, you step on the brake, you put it in gear, and it goes clunk. And if you push it really hard, it clunks less.
Correct.
Could be a number of things. I'm thinking with the Caravan, things that we've experienced in our own shop that makes the clunk. One, the idle is too high because it needs something as simple as cleaning the throttle body out. If it's idled too high, you should know it because you'll feel it. If you don't have a tachometer, you just kind of hear that the engine's revving up faster than it should, especially on cold mornings. If it does it when you first start it, worse than if you've driven it for a half hour and then put it into gear and it's idling really high. Get yourself a can of barium and B12 chem tool, clean the throttle body out, then disconnect the battery on this specific vehicle for about 10 minutes, hook it back up and restart it, and it should reset your throttle. If that is not the case, if it's not idling up high, you could have a CV shaft that is wearing out. The joint could be wearing out on either side, causing that clunk. And the other things we see in our shop is engine mounts. I believe that one has 3 of them on it. But if those engine mounts wear out, they will allow the engine to move a little more than normal, and it will give yourself a pretty good clunk when it moves.
A lot of times you can put it in park and have somebody rock the vehicle back and forth while you're listening, and you can get echoes of that noise if it's the case.
Sometimes we'll open the hood and have it in park and stand outside and push it back and forth and watch the engine. If the engine lifts up quite a bit on one side but not as much the other way, we know that mount's broken or worn out.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and the mounts aren't that bad. They're available at most any of your parts stores. You can get a good quality mount for not a lot of money. They can be a little tricky to get in, but they're not bad. And then the worst case scenario is that you have a corrosion problem and there's something rusted in the strut towers or somewhere like that with that age of that generation of Caravan. So if you have heavy corrosion issues, don't ignore them. There could be some metal shifting, and if that's the case, you might be getting to a bigger problem. But let's hope it's not that.
Dave, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Now we're going to Montana. Talk to Tracy. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Tracy, what can we do for you?
Howdy. Hey, I've got a couple for this 2014 CRV if we got time, but just bought it. Can't really get a factory service manual for some reason, but my wife's got the AC on. It's got the dual mode. It's an EXL, and I want to crank the heat up a little bit, and my side does nothing. It blows whatever hers wants to, even when it's in the dual mode. I know that most Hondas have a self-diagnostic thing, but I can't figure out how to do it on that one.
Well, it's not a self-diagnose. It's a self-door reset. When you turn the key on for the first time and go hot to cold on both sides and then let it sit, it should go through a door reset procedure in there. So the opposite side of the driver, it matches as you're saying, it matches the driver's side. So if it goes all the way hot or all the way cold, it does that. It comes out hot and cold on the other side.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It'll normally it does.
Okay.
Just this one time, it was hot on her side or cold on her side, and I wanted it hot on mine, and it wouldn't go. It just stayed what hers was.
Well, and they only have a little bit of ability. So if let's say it's 70 on the driver's side, you might be able to go 65 on the passenger side, or 75. Usually 5 degrees either way, so you can change a little bit. But that driver's side is going to get the most of the hot and cold. You can't have it cold on one side and hot on the other side. They just don't have that big a spread, and some cars are worse than others. Unless you've been in one and you know that our other one we owned is exactly the same car and it's always worked this way, that's a good test of it. But they don't change that much. I mean, we've got a Yukon, and if I tried putting my side up hotter, like 80 degrees one time when the other side was set at 70, and it just wasn't, I just couldn't get it to go much hotter. But then when the driver's side was turned up a little bit, then the passenger side would get warmer as well, because you're flowing it through that same
And there's only so big of an HVAC box underneath there.
Yeah, and there are some cars that are pretty good about it. I know, some of the BMWs that are dual zone like that have truly two zones they go through, and you can put one on hot air coming out and the other side on cold. But most cars are not that way. You'll feel it. Let's say you set both at 70, and you're on the passenger side going, "Oh, this air feels cool. It's 100 degrees out." And then you turn the left side down a little further, the passenger side will get a little colder. Turn it up to hot, it'll get a little hotter, but it won't stay exactly where you set it.
Sounds like I need to drive.
Yeah.
You need to drive.
Driver gets to
swap out.
pick. So
Chauffeur's choice.
Mm-hmm. You had another question there, Tracy?
Yeah. So I got a super deal on this thing because it needed a $1,200 repair. It had a really bad rattle on cold start, but I fixed it myself. I bought a Dorman TAMP variable cam time sprocket, and when I was putting that in, I was trying to relieve the tension from the timing chain, and you rotate it backwards, and a little hole on this weird little leg is supposed to line up on the tensioner, and you put a pin in it, right? Well, as I'm rotating it backwards, that hole never lines up. That little leg moves, but it just moves a tiny bit back and forth, never lines up with the hole. So I just collapsed the tensioner a different way, and I don't know. I worked around it. I took the tensioner off, but is that going to be a problem? Do I need to replace that tensioner? I think the little ratchet tooth is wore out on it, or is it okay to just leave it like that?
If it'll go back by hand like that and it's worn out, you want to replace it, because what's going to happen is the engine doesn't turn backwards going on the road, but as you decelerate coming off the highway and you're pushing the engine forward with the transmission, it will jump, and it can jump time. So if that tensioner's gone bad, you need to replace it.
Tracy, thanks very much for the call. And Tracy will, he puts on a lot of miles, so he'll get his work out of that one.
We got a guy that drives out to Tracy's house and back to town here every day. We change his oil once a week.
Like
in a
Tracy's
CRV.
house?
Yeah, in a 14 CRV. No, right down the street, basically. But he's driving
to Montana,
driving out to that city and back every single day.
I would be suspicious of that if my neighbor had a visitor,
a package delivery every day,
and he's driving a CRV. Yeah, he's delivering packages.
We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Iowa and talk to Clint. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Clint, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. I hope this little technical here. I don't know, maybe Russ remembers. I got a 94 Chevy pickup. I had to put head gaskets in it, 350. And when I put everything back together, put the distributor in, thought, well, let's do a tune-up here. The distributor looked really rusty, so I bought a parts store one for like $175 and a coil. And I can set this timing to base. You go on the passenger side under the glove box, unplug your brown wire, and I can get this thing to run perfect. It sounds great. But as soon as I plug in that wire, my timing mark wants to advance almost past that sawtooth indicator, and it just starts missing and running crappy. So, I read that at one time there may have been a kind of a bad batch of distributors back in the day. So I got a different one from the same store. They warrantied it out, did the same thing, found some information on GM saying, hey, unplug that ignition module, that 2-wire connector, and set your multimeter for millivolts. And on engine cranking, they want 700 millivolts. Mine, all these two distributors, and then I tried the original old distributor that was in the back of the pickup, and then I tried a Delphi distributor just to test it. When I spin them over, and it's around 96 RPMs, my millivolt is reading on my meter is going from 500 to almost 800. It's all over the map at a steady speed. Is that a problem? Should it just kind of be 700 millivolts, give or take? Or does it fluctuate like that, Russ?
No, that's going to be normal. I don't think the problem is you could have had a distributor problem. We still have problems with those distributors. And if you ever buy one of those cheap distributors as a complete unit for $100 and some bucks, always buy a very good quality, like an AC Delco cap and rotor for it. Don't settle for the one that comes on it. We've seen so many of those we put in and they didn't run, and it's because the cap and rotor was crap. Throw them away. They're a Chinese, very low quality cap and rotor, and they can give you all sorts of weird issues with spark jumping where it shouldn't in there. So that wire in there allows the computer to control the timing. And if there's a problem with that engine computer or what it's reading through the sensors, it can do all sorts of weird stuff. So that could be that you have a computer issue in those. And we've put a few computers in those that are older. The other thing you've got going on there is the timing mark. Yeah, it's going to pass. It's going to pass those marks. It's going to be up in the 30s when you get a little higher RPM. That's normal. The only way you can check that would be to get a timing light that has the dial on it where you can dial it up and see exactly where you're at. Like you set the timing light for 30 degrees, and then your mark should say 0 on the balancer as you look at it. That's how you just keep stepping it up until you get the mark where it's supposed to be and hold it at a steady RPM. And it should be fairly steady. It'll move around a little bit. But if you got a worn timing chain on the engine, that would cause a big jump. You can turn the crank back and forth about an inch each way and watch that rotor. And if the rotor doesn't go the other direction immediately when you turn the engine the opposite way, if it moves an inch before it starts turning the other way, that chain's worn out, and that's causing a huge problem right there too.
Clint, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
A lot of stuff there. He's got to get into a shop. And
I was thinking that on the what, Shannon? You don't think I was?
No.
Oh yeah, I was
don't.
on it. I was right on that with the voltage. Was it voltage?
I think you're daydreaming. You're daydream believing right there.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Chandler. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Chandler, what can we do for you?
Yeah, hi, guys. I enjoy the show very much.
Thank you.
I have a question. Driving back to Sioux Falls from Grand Forks the other day, and I have a 16 Navigator with the EcoBoost. I needed some acceleration to pass, and the check engine light started flashing. Lost a little bit of power. And I think from previous shows, since I listen to you guys every week, that's not a good thing. So I slowed down immediately and was going to shut it down. Before I could shut it down, it stopped flashing. I did shut it down anyway for the reset, started it back up, seemed to be fine. Went for a little ways, pull into the rest stop at Hillsboro, I think it was, and started back up again after a bit and drove all the way back to Sioux Falls and didn't have any problems. No more check engine light was flashing. Now I'm supposed to be driving to Phoenix on Saturday, and I'm a little concerned about that that check engine light flashing again. Do I need to be worried about that? Should I have that checked out? I haven't checked codes on it yet, if it blew a code or anything. Is it something I need to be worried about, or is that just a one-time thing that was a glitch in the system? It wasn't able to provide the power I needed.
How many miles are on it?
Is a coil going? 91,000.
91,000. If you're going to keep this thing, I would, with the years that are on it, I would take it in and have a set of 8 coils put on it now before you take your trip, because they're probably failing. It's almost guaranteed if you got a misfire like that under load on acceleration, it's probably a coil going bad. It's a tune-up thing basically, because you can't buy plug wires anymore, so you get a coil and a boot. I would get a set of them. I would get them installed as a set. And if you're driving down the road and this miss occurs and you continue to drive it that way, you run a bigger risk. You run a risk of burning out that cylinder or killing a catalytic converter, and those are very expensive items. So this is one of those things where you have a misfire. If it was my own vehicle and I had a misfire like that, I'd feel it and say, oh, hey, I got an ignition miss. If I knew I had an ignition miss, I would be putting eight coils on it and spark plugs now to protect myself and protect that engine. That engine's a pretty big investment. You know, you're looking at $8,000 plus, depending on where you go to have it replaced.
Chandler, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturdivants.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter, here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. What are you doing?
Closing the curtain.
Okay.
You could see the guy behind it over there. He was peeking through.
Oh. I just looked up at the monitor and saw him lurking behind me, and I was like, what the heck
So
happened?
keep talking over there. Keep the focus on you. The camera will stay on you.
Yeah, if you watch us on YouTube, you'll pick up some interesting things sometimes.
See some interesting signals,
Yeah.
which are all lost on me. I never understand any of the signals or mouthings.
What if you're
But
giving
he
them?
pretends he knows them.
Yeah, I
So I'll stop
I'm
doing
very
it.
mollified. Yeah, I'll go, yeah, I gotcha.
I'm usually out right away.
And or
You know I'm the worst.
it's
at
easy
that.
for you because
Then we
you
go to the
just
break
say
and he
it.
goes, now what are you saying?
And you will look at me and go to the next call. And you lean in and
Like
whisper.
they can't hear what he's saying.
I got a button now.
Go to the next.
Now, it's been there a
I
year.
know. No, how's this work?
Go to, yeah, that's there. That's
Can I do that?
Yeah,
I
that's
could
good.
still hear you.
Let's go to Utah and talk to David. He's been just waiting while Russ is redecorating the studio. David, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey everyone, love the show. Glad to be on today.
Thank you.
I've got a 15 Outback with 100,000 miles on it with what sounds like pinging or detonation when it's under light load. It started several years ago when we were in the Seattle area, but got much worse and louder when we moved to the higher elevations of the Salt Lake area. I've been to the local Subaru dealer several times, and they even had a technician ride with me, and he told me, hey, that definitely sounds like detonation or knock, but the only tool that Subaru gives us is to add the latest code in the ECM. Now, it's helped a little bit at times, running the higher octane fuel, even up to like 91 from a place like Costco helps a bit, but it doesn't go away. So what suggested to do a boroscope on the cylinders, so I did that. 3 of them look normal from what I'm told from the pictures with light deposits on the edges, but one is definitely different and shows the clear signs of that pitting on the top of the piston. And I'm just not sure what I can do about that other than to maybe plan to sell the car in a few years. So, you guys have any thoughts?
Well, that's just the one that's starting to erode already. The other ones will follow shortly after. And once it gets started, it usually really goes fast. You know, if you don't see anything, it may last a while. But once it starts getting a hold of it, yeah, it really wears away. It's like the finish on a table. You take that, once it gets that first good gouge on it, it just starts getting really bad. It's like picking at it all the time.
And for other hoodies that are listening, what's happening is as that engine is going through its run cycle, as the piston is coming up, it is pre-igniting. The pressure of the cylinder compression is pre-igniting before the spark actually ignites it. And so then you get like a secondary explosion inside the engine, and it builds hot spots in those areas as it does that. And it's like a ball peen pressure washer, just blowing on the top of that piston. So, yeah, that's a challenge. And I'm glad the dealer is taking the time to actually ride with you, hear it, but they can't just let that go.
No, the fix is, yes, a flash for high altitude. But the problem is the the octane is low. The flash only works so good. The flash works really good in lower altitudes like we have. You put that flash in there, and I've seen it repair that. But where you're at, you need a combination of that and the high octane fuel, and it doesn't completely take care of it. They should be going a step further and have a adjustment for that. The calibration should know where you're at by the barometric pressure that the engine is reading off the sensor. If that sensor is working correctly, now that sensor may have failed within its range, and if it has, it doesn't know the true pressure that the engine's under, or it could be carboned up, and if it is, there's no cleaning to it. You've got to replace it. But if it's sensing that that the pressure is wrong, it's going to do that. They need to read the data from the scanner and see what it's showing for barometric pressure. And if it's not 100% correct for the actual barometric pressure where you're located at, they need to replace that sensor and go from there, because it may just be that, you said it just came on suddenly one time. It might be that sensor got a piece of carbon trapped in it or something and started reading incorrectly, and that's why it's doing it. Because the calibration should know. It should say, okay, if this pressure is this, change the timing to this. If the pressure is that, change it to this, to give you the best mileage, the best economy, and no detonation in the engine. And it also has it picks up on all those set parameters.
So you're going to double check all the inputs also.
Oh yeah. Even if there's no codes, just because there's no code doesn't mean that there's not a problem. Because we get people all the time that come in and say, I don't have any codes, but my car does this. And people just looked at it and said, I can't do anything because there's no code. Well, let me read it and see what's going on. Well, it's hard to start in the morning when it's cold, and then it runs fine. There's no codes. Why hasn't anybody noticed this? I've had it into Ford shops. Why hasn't anybody noticed this? Well, what did they not notice? Well, it's been sitting overnight. The temperature outside is 60 degrees. Your coolant temperature reads 100. Well, if it was 100 degrees, it'd be fine. The computer doesn't see that as a fault, so it tries to start it like it's 100 degrees, and it doesn't give it any extra fuel. But it's off. It's not right, and a good tech should be able to look at that data and see that. And in the case of this Subaru here, it might be that barometric pressure is not seeing the outside pressure what it is. It may be seeing it at a higher level, a lower altitude, and it's saying, well, hey, we can give it more timing and less fuel because we're at a lower altitude. The air is a different density here. So I think that may be what's going on.
Cars are crazy.
Yeah, they are. It used to be that when you drove across country, you would get into the mountains. I think you had this happen to you, Chris. You're like, my car started running like crap when I was in the mountains. Mm-hmm. Well, how do I fix it? Shut it off and restart it. What? Yeah, just shut it off, restart it. Hey, it fixed it. Yeah, it just relearned because it relearned the barometric pressure every time you restarted it, because it's a map sensor when you're driving. It's a baro sensor with key on, engine off.
Most exciting drive of my life. David, does that help you out?
Yeah, thanks. I'll try to see if I can get somebody to dig in a little bit deeper, because that would be easier than getting another car these days.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, no kidding.
For sure.
Cheaper.
Coming out of the mountains, I was behind a big rig with the brakes on fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the most exciting drive I've ever had
in my
life.
Were you on Wolf Creek Pass?
I was near there. I think I was coming through the Eisenhower tunnel.
That's bad in the tunnel.
It was.
Do you know the song, Chris? Wolf Creek Pass?
Sure.
You do.
Yeah. I'm not super familiar with it, but
a little bit.
I remember it, yeah.
It's just got some great references about, coming down the mountain, stepping on the brakes, kind of like stepping on a plum.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Alabama and talk to Sam. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Sam, what can we do for you?
Hey, man, I got a 03 Ford Mustang with the 3.8 V6. And I haven't had it a real long time, but it ran smooth. I mean, I had no issues with it at all. And I just went to start it up one day on the way to work, and I mean, it started running real bad. Service engine light come on, started flashing. So when I came home that day, I went ahead and had it scanned, and it said cylinder 4 misfire. So I went ahead and I actually pulled the plug out, and it looked like, there was, nothing left of it. And so was all the other ones. So I went ahead and changed the plugs, changed the wires, and it badly needed it, but it made no difference. So I took it to a shop, and, they told me the same thing. Hey, it has cylinder 4 misfire. We changed the spark plug. And I was like, well, I just changed them. And I said, okay, we'll change the coil. They put a new coil on it to see if that made any difference. And they said, okay, well, the only thing that we can think of is the injector. So I took it home. I bought a fuel injector for number 4, put that on there, and it still has made no difference. I even thought it may have fouled out that spark plug from running like that, so I even changed the spark plug again when I put the new injector in at the same time, and it's like it's completely dead.
We're both looking at each other with like not good faces on this situation, because this is kind of what happened with Matt on his Mustang too, isn't it? I think this was different. Oh,
he lost a rod.
Oh, he threw a rod right out. That was probably the end result.
Your Jeep.
Yeah.
So it's almost exactly what you had happen to your Jeep with the misfire, where you had a cylinder go out. You ended up with a valve.
Yeah.
I had a problem in the head and the valve, and then you had spark plugs that it was burning up spark plugs, and you're like, what is going on? Is it a coil or is it a plug? Why is it doing this? Is the injector following this thing out or what? But it turns out
he needs to check state of health of the engine.
Basic state of health by pulling the plugs out and doing a compression test, see if they're all the same, and then do a leak down test where we're going to have the piston at different positions in there, and then we're going to test and see, do we have a leak down, and where is it leaking by? Do we have a leak? And I'm going to do the different positions because I want to know, is it leaking past a valve, or is it leaking past the cylinder and the rings into the crankcase? So I'll try it at different areas of the cylinder. And sometimes it's hard because it'll push that piston down as you're trying to do this test. But either way, if you've got any leakage past a valve, it can cause this problem.
And, we don't want to just sit here and give a laundry list and say, hey, good luck. But, when we're not there, that is the first thing you have to do. But is your coolant level and everything good? Have you ever had coolant loss in this vehicle?
No, it hasn't had any issue like that. Was one thing I was worried about too, is oh man, they had a blown head gasket. But I actually took when I took the plug out this time, it didn't. It just smelled like fuel, like it had fuel in it. I was like, well, I know I have a new injector. I know I have good plugs and wires. I know I have a good coil. I thought that it just may have fouled the spark plug again due to the, not running right. So I changed it again, and now it's still the same issue.
All right. Well, yeah, I think we got to get back to the basics here and check the state of health of that engine before you throw any more money at parts trying to make it run good, because it can only compensate so much for leakage in a cylinder or compression that's bleeding by, because of that leakage by a valve. You can only overcompensate so much. So you got to check that out. And, you never underestimate the fact that it could have had a timing chain issue too and jump time. That's not something that it can happen on those 3/8. But they're a pretty strong little engine. They use that motor in the Mustangs. They put it in vans. They put it in quite a few things. But you definitely got to start with the basics, I think, with right now what we got going on.
And when you say it's a pretty good engine, that's kind of bad news if there's a problem.
Yeah, well, when they go bad, they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That was the face you guys were making at each other.
Well,
because of the issue he was having.
Right.
They're kind of a throwaway engine, it seems like, if they do go bad. You just have to get another one.
There's no, they're rebuilding. Some of these engines you just can't get parts for to rebuild them.
Mm-hmm.
And the rebuilders have them, but as far as the people on the street to just go buy parts, it's not real easy, and it's a lot of money because the machinists don't want to work on some of these either, on certain ones, but other ones you can.
Sam, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Tom. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Tom, what can we do for you?
Okay, guys, here's the scenario. I'm looking at two 2021 Ford Expeditions, both with Class 4 tow packages on them, but one has the heavy-duty version. So That's got the 373 gears. The other one has the 331 gears. I am considering buying a camper trailer, probably something in that 5,000 pound range. Not really big, but I got to take into consideration all the weight that goes into it and into the vehicle if I tow that thing. And I'm just wondering if there's any way on earth you would even consider buying the one with 331 gears.
Nope.
Not with that.
That's
Not with
what
that.
I wanted to
Not
hear.
with that engine. And I'm going to guess that the only reason you're conflicted is because the one of the 331 gears is a better color that your wife likes.
Well, I don't have to worry about pleasing the wife, but I do have to please my own eyes.
So there is a color choice. There's options in color that are pulling you towards the one with the 331 gears, but you know better.
Well, there's enough 21s out there now that you should be able to search the country and find yourself the color you want with the options, but don't go with that higher gear. That 331 is a poor choice for pulling anything other than a motorcycle on a single trailer.
And if you look at the ratings of those vehicles, of each particular one, how they're built, most all of them get the same hitch put on the back. They've got the same brackets to hold it to the frame. They got the same plug-ins for hooking to your accessories. But when you actually get a heavy trailer towing package, you're going to get that lower gear ratio. You're going to get a heavy-duty cooler on the engine. You're going to get a heavy-duty cooler on the transmission, and other things that I'm probably not thinking of right now that they do when they put on the heavy towing package. And so that the gear ratio is the biggest thing. Because otherwise, with that high gear ratio of 331, high ratio, low number, you're lugging that engine. And that constant lugging on that EcoBoost, that's an EcoBoost in there, is going to build up a lot of heat. And that will not be good in the long run for that engine. If you're going to be pulling with it, even 5 trips a year, I would not recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Well, that was easy, Tom.
You told me everything I needed to hear. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much for the call. What are the color differences?
I was pretty close on my guess, except for getting somebody else involved.
You were right on.
Yeah, because otherwise he knew the answer when he called us.
Mm-hmm.
He just needed somebody else to tell him.
Yeah. Why does it look so much better? Why don't they paint them all better colors?
Well, maybe one person's better color is one person's worse color.
But if he knew that blind, it's got to be an issue, right?
There's no other reason for him to ask the question. Maybe the one with the 373s was like a state issue vehicle.
Okay,
I'm going way off on a tangent here
yeah.
now, but they make an Expedition that you can get as a government bid level vehicle. And they're basic colors. They don't have as fancy options. Then you get the one that you see in the showroom that's super pretty and got all the cushy stuff. And that's many times the non-towing version or the non-heavy-duty version.
Speaking of state vehicles.
that can go exactly the other way, too. You can get a state vehicle that is just basic as they want because they just want to haul people.
Right.
And they don't pull anything. So you definitely got to check the spec on the vehicle you're looking at particularly.
So speaking of state vehicles, I noticed something just today, and then it made me think. So I looked at another one that I saw. So I started looking out for these, and I'm not seeing as many as I used to, but I wonder, either one of you, have you ever noticed daytime running lights on a law enforcement car? On any of the Chargers, any of the Explorers?
They got them all turned off when they do the aftermarket light package.
Uh-huh. I haven't seen them. That's federal law now, daytime running lights on cars, isn't it?
Yeah, unless you're a cop.
Well, it doesn't, I don't know if there's an exception, but I just wondered about that. I just happened to notice. I went, wait a second, there's no daytime running lights. So I started noticing when I go down the road and you're like, oh, there's a Charger, it's a cop. And then I went, there's no daytime running lights. It's a cop. There are daytime running lights. It's not. So I'm thinking, I
didn't need to hear this.
You're gonna get in trouble again, Chris.
It's the same old thing with when I was a kid. If it were square headlights, it was a cop, and then
we used to be able to look in our mirror and tell what was what. But it just hit me. I went, wait a second, I don't see daytime running lights on that vehicle.
Also, the no light bar on the top, that's not cool. Cops.
Oh, you live in Minnesota.
Listen, you you should put the big light bar back.
They have pretty
Like-
cars where you live, Chris.
We want a Blues Brothers size light bar.
This is
the bubble gum
entrapment.
on top.
Yeah, we want.
If your job really is to prevent, I'll slow down when I see the big.
Yeah, where you live, they have some really nice Chargers over there.
Uh-huh.
Blue ones, red ones that are pretty. They have tinted windows, but they look like a regular car. But if you look real close, they have a tinted strip in the mirror, which is a light. They've got all the lights in the front. They've got lights up in the glass behind.
Yes, they do.
They're hidden and boom.
Which I say, only having gotten my first ticket in 3 decades, I'm like, hey, we got to figure this thing out. Which I don't normally speed, and I was in the Prius, so it wasn't. I'm not exactly.
Just ride a motorcycle, Chris. They don't
hot
even
rod
attempt
Lincoln.
to stop them.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150 is the number to reach us here in the studio. You can watch the show on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe to the YouTube feed, you could win a hoodie.
I'm watching U2 right now. U2.
That's right.
Yeah. Reggie Carnes, congratulations. You've won a hoodie from our friends over at Universal Technical Institute. Very technical out there. UTI.edu. Cars,
CNC.
boats, marine mechanics, welding, CNC. No music in that factory, but they've got lots of...
Just the future.
Yeah.
Huh?
Good stuff.
Hey,
Go ahead, UTI. You can use that.
Chris,
UTI.edu.
today you're
Yes.
25 years old. You're contemplating your career.
I wish.
You're going to go to UTI. What are you going for?
Ooh. CNC manufacturing. Because then I can do anything. Right? I can do it in any industry,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Myself, I can make signs that say, welcome to the cabin. I can do all sorts of stuff.
Well, you could go into automotive. You
Mhm.
could go into marine mechanics. You could go into aircraft mechanics. You could go into power sports, all with NASCAR. You could go into all that with just CNC.
I could remember back in the 70s when those yard windmills got real popular, when they would cut out cans and make the spinny things, and it would be a guy chopping wood? I could make those.
The little
Bring them back.
Yeah.
the little bird that would
Yes.
Yeah, bring them back. All of it.
Let's talk to Roger. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Roger, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, how we doing?
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, you were talking about gear ratios, and I'm not a car guy whatsoever, but I like my Ram pickup. I've got a 2016 Ram crew cab, and I was just wondering what gear ratio do I have on that? And then also pulling a camper. We've always had travel trailers, but the second part would be, would a fifth wheel be better pulling with a 2016 Ram?
Well, there's a lot to this, and you asked some really good questions, and I'm glad you were intrigued enough by what we talked about with him, but I got to probably peel the onion back a little bit just to make sure that we put it all together.
This is, though, you made a good point, Rod. Saying he's not a car guy, but wanting to answer these questions is one of the big problems that we face with people on the road.
That's why
So
we're
this
glad
is
that
great.
this show does this very thing to help people understand this stuff.
I just got to say, when people say that, this morning walking into a store very quickly, I slowed down. I didn't stop, but just long enough to thank somebody, because I run into more and more people that say, "Hey, you guys do a great job. I just wanted to thank you." I'm not a car guy, but I really gain a lot from that. So I really appreciate everybody that does that. Just makes my day, because I was having a busy day going, I'm never going to make it on time. And somebody said, "Hey, thanks. Love the show." And I was like, well, now I'm having a better day. So thank you. But car,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
if you're on these, like your Ram, it slips my mind right now, but almost every one of these has the same gear ratio on these diesel trucks.
Well, I'm going to
2500s.
back up. Is this a half ton or a 3/4 ton?
Diesel, isn't it?
It's half gas.
Oh, well, throw that out. But the diesels, most of those have the same gear
do.
ratio until you get like a 55 and 4500s. But that thing could have multiple ratios in it, but I think only two. What are they, Shannon? Is it 355? And
Yeah, I'm just trying to think how Dodge, what their numbers are, 320 something, 350 something. But
then
They're
70s.
all having to do with the package that it has. And that's why when he called with that particular expedition and said he had those gear ratio choices, we knew right away that the 373 was the towing package. That vehicle had the heavier towing package. If you looked at the ratings for towing on those vehicles, there's probably a 2,500 pound to 3,000 pound difference between
and they moved
the two.
it up. Remember, it used to be 410 on that vehicle was the heavy tow.
Yep.
But when they added extra gears in the trans, they were able to raise that.
Right. So there's not really a blanket answer for your truck. I'm guessing you've got the Hemi motor in it?
Yes.
All right. That truck has got a pretty good tow rating with either one of the gear ratios. But the way you find out is you take your particular vehicle and you contact. You can find it on the internet in some places.
Is that thing tagged?
I'm just trying to think. On your door jamb, you're going to have your gross vehicle weight rating.
I bet there's a tag on that rear end.
And
I've changed some oil in those recently.
But you're going to get your codes off of that tag on the door. On some of those, they give an axle code. Otherwise, you can go to the VIN level and you can get a hold of the dealer and say, hey, I want to find out what package this truck was built with. And then they'll go into the manufacturer build data for that vehicle for you. And a lot of times, just as things that'll come up if you're doing a trade-in or you're looking at buying something, they have all this information. It's not like you're just calling up to say, hey, can you tell me this? They usually have all that. Our industry with the used parts, we have a hard time getting all that data. We've got some different programs that we've been able to enlist in and find that out. But I would look online and find out what the codes are, what the packages are for the different towing that were made in that year, make, model. And then you have to find out which ones your vehicle actually has. Now, there are telltale signs. If somebody knows the product well, which I don't know all these details, they might look and say, oh, yeah, you have the external oil cooler right here. That's the towing package. They only put that on option PQR, and it was the 5.7 engine. I'll bet you money you also have the 331 gear ratio. They're going to know that just by looking at one thing because they're so in tune with that vehicle. But you have to find that out particularly for your vehicle and how it was built. Because you could have, seriously, there's probably I know GM's really well. And in 2018, when I bought my truck, I think there was 7 different packages that I could have gotten with different engine combinations, axle combinations, towing combinations. And the range of towing capacity for a trailer was anywhere from 7,000 pounds to 13 or 12,000 pounds in a half ton. It was just between, and the trucks all looked really similar. And so that is not an easy answer without digging into it just a little bit. It doesn't take much, but you need to find out for that vehicle because you'll see that, and it really throws people for a loop where they'll see the television commercial and they'll show them pulling a trailer and they got the prettiest one on the commercial that everybody wants that color combination and those wheels. And then the small taketh away when you see on the bottom that's as optioned, check your details. You really got to pay attention to that. Now, as far as jump in. I'm sorry. I'm just going 100 miles an hour.
Okay.
Here.
I'm sorry. No problem. Because I used to have a Ford F-150 half ton, and that thing would never, when I would get on a hill, we've got about a 10,000 pound camper. So we got an older camper. So that thing's a beast. And when we used to go up even a slight hill, that F-150 would kick down and would not, or wouldn't kick down and would just be revving at about 4,000 or 5,000, RPMs, and it would not kick down. And with this Hemi, it's almost like I'm not pulling anything, which, I mean, that could be the age difference too, or just the quality in the vehicle. I love my Fords, I like Ram here too, but just such a difference. So I didn't know if the Hemi made a difference too.
What is that F-150 that you had? What year was that one?
That was let's see here. What was that one? Oh, that one had to have been like an 03 or something.
You already said enough with the O in the beginning. You were talking about probably a 4-speed automatic transmission versus this Ram could have a 6-speed or an 8-speed transmission in it. And so not only were they're able to, when you push in that button for tow haul mode, which you have, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. It's going to make all those decisions for you as best it can for towing. And you are going to notice way less shifting than you would have in that older truck with just 4 speeds of a transmission. And maybe that button in that one would lock up the torque converter a little different, or set the timing curve just a little bit different for towing for that. But, with the newer trucks, they're controlling a lot more things when you push that button, and you got a lot more gears to use. You're going to notice that less, but that doesn't mean the load on the vehicle is any less. That 10,000 pounds with your half ton, and you take any sort of family or accessories or whatever it might happen to be, you're pushing it. You're right at the maximum, even with the best equipped truck in that age. And so you got to be really careful as you're making that pull. You might be heavy enough that truly you should be in a 3/4 ton truck, but just there again, check it all out. We recommend to people 80% of the towing capacity is a good place to be, and if you're going to be doing a lot of it. So I definitely would look into it. Now, Russ, he asked the question about a fifth wheel versus a bumper hitch as far as towing. Weight is still weight, but there's definitely some things that come with the fifth wheel that make it a little easier to pull.
They're doing a lot of fifth wheel hitches on half tons now because they've got a lot bigger payload in the bed. Plus, they're able to tow more, and the campers are getting lighter in certain ranges. But it's much easier towing it, and it won't sway as much as when you're towing it. So it's a lot safer that way. So if you can get a lighter fifth wheel and a smaller one, I always choose the fifth wheel option. You've got to pick a hitch you can take out of the box and put back in, so you can use that what little box you have there. But like a B&W turnover ball with a companion hitch or something like that. There's a couple others that make ones out there as well, but I'd prefer the fifth wheel over a bumper tow any day for that reason.
Lot throwing at you there, Roger, but you had a lot of good questions.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys. And yeah, thank you for the show. You make it entertaining, but very educational too. So thanks so much, guys.
Thanks very much for the call. When you say new vehicles, which we talk about a lot, towing, we've talked a lot over the years. Where are you here at feeling that big difference? You talked about how his old F-150, night and day with this 2016 Ram.
It seems to me it was, depending on the manufacturer, 13, 14, 15 in that range, where they really, all the half-ton people stepped up their game with what they brought out.
14 is when all of them had new technology and the transmissions. They had all converted by then, and they really, really changed their tow ratings on everything. They went, like Shannon said, his old truck to his new truck. He's like, what happened here? They just went up, and now they're pushing again here for 24 models. It's insane. You get, like, if you buy they're not listed by tons anymore. They used to say half ton, 3/4, and 1. They say 3,500, 2,500, because a 1,500 truck that used to be like a half ton may be able to carry 4,000 pounds in the bed. It just depends. You got to look at the rating, so that'll throw you off. And in some cases, a 1,500 truck, which would have been the quote half ton before, has a higher rating than a 1-ton truck did 15 years ago overall for everything. So yeah, things have changed there, and they just keep stepping up their game. It's like over 30,000 pounds is what the new, or over 35, I think it is, for the new the new 3,500s.
Super Duty Fords and stuff.
Diesels. That's a lot of them.
I just not too long ago saw an ad in a magazine that said 30,000 pounds, and it showed the truck, and then it said, as shown, 10,000 pounds. So it was like, well, that's
dirty pool.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here. Let's talk to Brian. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Brian, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Hey, I've got a 2013 Nissan Pathfinder. And when we turn the steering wheel to the right or to the left at lower speeds, it's like a jerking motion. It's jerk. And it doesn't happen so much when you're coasting at a little bit higher speed in turn, but it's mainly at those lower speeds and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on and see what I need to do.
Is it when you turn a little bit or when you turn almost to the stop?
Both.
Okay.
Mainly when we're making a right-hand turn, you're turning it, probably halfway it'll go, or if you're making a real sharp turn as well, it will do it at the same time. Yeah.
Well, a couple things can cause this. The big expensive thing would be either a problem with the rack, the valves hanging up in it, or a pump, which is
not as bad.
Not as bad. But it could be something simpler too. It could be that when you're turning, the power steering pump is not turning because the belt is slipping because it doesn't have enough grip. As the tensioner starts to wear and the belt starts to get glazed over and smooth, it starts to slip as it's turning.
Yeah, because that's still old enough to have a hydraulic pump and gear.
It's gonna make the belt shiny and almost like a coating of ice on it. It's nice and smooth and slippery. And our partner at Gates makes a complete belt kit where you get the belt and the tensioner and an idler if that's needed as well, so that all these components grab again and hold. This is something you can test yourself at home. And here's how you do it. You open the hood, you have somebody sit in the driver's seat and turn the wheel and get the duplicate the problem. And as you turn the wheel, if it's jerking like that, as you try to turn it, unless you're like really super easy, watch the power steering pulley. And if you see that pulley like either stop or go slower than the rest of them, and it'll be noticeable if it's doing it, then you need that Gates complete component kit to replace all of it. I mean, that's how you fix your ride.
And I don't know, and I guess I haven't tested it, when it's just standing still and idle. It's from what I've experienced, so the car that my wife drives, but from what I've experienced, it's only when you're in motion.
You could, I don't know what options that has. Is that a pretty up-level vehicle? As upscale as far as the option package?
It's not their top level.
Because they may have started using variable assist steering in that. I'm guessing they did already in that vehicle, because that's a pretty fancy vehicle, a Pathfinder. There could be something going on with that system.
It'll be full assist when you're stopped, but when you start rolling, it'll gradually lessen the assist to make it feel like it's got stiffer steering.
Yeah, so they put sensors in there, and they sense the pressure on the steering. They take the speed into account, and they adjust the steering feel based on the speed, so that when you're in a parking lot, you can turn it a lot easier, and when you're out on the highway, it keeps it firmer. And sometimes those systems can get a little screwed up, whether it's a sensor or something like that, and it'll make them act erratic. So if it has that system, that's another place you can look at when they're trying to do the diagnosis.
Okay, perfect. You don't think it'd be anything with the CVT, the transmission aspect?
Not for steering.
Shouldn't, yeah. No, not for, I agree. We'll leave it at that.
Brian, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. And that is the test while you're stopped. It seems like you turn the wheel a lot when you're stopped, but I don't think you do. I mean, I think that
no.
You go, it seems to only happen when I'm moving. I think that would be
when you're in a parking lot, you start to move and then you turn the wheel. If you're at a stoplight, you start to turn the wheel as you move. You don't typically go back and forth, but if you do, move it back and forth and maybe even quicker as you're stopped. Put a little load on it and see if you can get it to duplicate so you can look at the belt physically.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Kurt. You're on the Under the Hood show. Kurt, what can we do for you?
Yeah, 2013 F-150 5-liter V8. I think the book says that the towing capacity is 11.2 or 11.7, something like that. So that means if I have a 7,000-pound camper, I've got about 4,700 pounds, but that has to go towards the truck, the weight of the truck. Is that correct? So I'm about at maximum because the truck weighs right at that 4,900 or 48. Is that you got to add both towing vehicle and what you're towing together to
two different things you're thinking about.
There's a number on the door that says GCVW, gross combined vehicle weight rating. That is what you're looking at. So if you've got a truck that weighs 6,000 pounds and it says, it doesn't matter what it weighs. Let's say your vehicle, your truck itself on the door says vehicle weight rating, and it's 7,000 pounds. that is the weight of the vehicle with all passengers and all cargo in the truck combined to reach that maximum number of what that vehicle should weigh by itself. And then the GCVW, gross combined vehicle weight rating, is the truck fully loaded with the trailer fully loaded. And it might say, you might have a 10,000 pound truck that has a combined weight rating of, 20,000 pounds, whatever it is, because that's the trailer with everything loaded in that. That's where you want to go. If you were to put the trailer, the truck, all cargo, everything loaded, ready to drive down the road on a truck scale, it's got to be under the combined weight rating on the door frame.
Now, Kurt's assumption there is correct on a vehicle that doesn't have on my vehicle, I have a tow rating of whatever it is, 800 pounds and that, in that case, you do have to, there's just one number. My Element probably doesn't have a GCVW listed, right?
Oh, it does.
It does? Okay.
Yeah. But it's if your tow rating is 800 pounds, you need to go 70% or 80% of that.
If you want to be entertained someday, just if you got an extra 20 minutes on your hands, just Google two things. Google the information that's on the side of a tire and all the things you can learn from reading the side of a tire, and then Google the manufacturer certification tag that's on the door jamb of each particular type of vehicle and what you can learn by reading that and understand what all those numbers mean. I oftentimes have to go back and look at a template to remember, okay, no, this number means this, because they just, for whatever reason, I get them balled up in my mind when I look at them. So sometimes I'll go back and look at a template to get each one explained to me. And some manufacturers don't spell it out that clearly. I think there's certain things by federal law they must have to have on there. But you can always go to the manufacturer, though, and find out what they rated that thing for towing in their build data. And so sometimes you don't have to do the math that way.
And it's specific to that
truck, the way that truck's built. Because you could have a 13 F-150 with a 5-liter that has a max towing package or something like that they offered, heavy towing package, and you could have a 2013 15 F-150 with a V8 that has a hitch and you can still tow, but just not as much as the other one.
Right.
So you got to know exactly what you have and how it was built.
Kurt, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's see if we can do this one quick. Jerry from West Virginia, you're on the End of the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hi, guys. I bought a 2023 Hyundai Kona. This is my second one. I bought another one about 4 years ago, but it had bad piston rings. And Hyundai said, well, if it blows up, we'll fix it. Well, I didn't want to drive it. So anyway, I bought another one. Both of these cars have a 7,000-mile oil change from the factory. And my car right now is a year old this week. I've got 3,700 miles on it, which means it'll be 2 years before my first oil change. So I'm just wondering what you guys think about that.
The first oil change, they've got a specific oil in there for break-in, and it needs that to reach that, to get everything worn in correctly so you don't have that piston ring problem. They know that problem can occur in a lot of engines. So if you're going to change the oil, I don't like it being in there 2 years. Because the filter is going to start coming apart because they're paper.
I would ask the manufacturer, your dealer, about that particular, since your use case is way different than most.
They're not thinking it's going to be driven the way you're driving it.
You're not normal as far as your use case.
Yeah, I would be, if it was my own car and I had that low of miles on it, I'd probably be putting break-in oil in it again and changing the oil so I got it thoroughly broken in.
Okay.
And they sell break-in oil at that weight that vehicle
Double check
recommends.
with your dealer, and if he just gives you a quick answer, can you tell him, hey, can you call the regional guy and ask him about this? Because this is a different situation.
Don't just say it's okay so you can sell me another car when this one goes bad in 5 years.
Jerry, thanks very much for the call. That'll do it for hour 2 of the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for joining us. All right, this is the after show. Welcome if you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, welcome to the after show. And you might be on the podcast, right? It could be. Yeah, all right. I got an email here that we said we would talk about, and I want to get to it because it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of funny.
You think it's funny?
I do think it's funny. This is from Don, a friend of Doug's. He has a vehicle, and he's got some. He has a 2002 F-150 King Ranch, 250,000 miles, 5.4 automatic. And this is a list of the codes.
Oh,
that he's.
That's a lot of codes.
Here, you can see it, right? These are all the codes that are on there. And he asks, hey, let's see. I pulled over to make sure the trailer lights were working. When I started the engine, this was the result. Except for the misfires on cylinders 2 and 4, I had no other issues. Just starting and not driving, 5 of the 13 codes go away.
Oh.
So
Oh boy.
I'm assuming it's with these first 8 codes that lies the key to now not being able to drive. So what do you do when you have that many codes? Here are the 8 codes that are repeated upon startup. And then there's 8 codes that don't go away. And then 5 that go away when the truck is driven. What do you
are all the first codes are all the same system?
Here, take a look. I say because I don't know the answer to that question.
Give me your credit card. We're gonna have to start 1-900. Yeah. All right, we got. I'm not gonna get all these numbers. EVAP, pressure control solenoid in the transmission. Solenoid B in the transmission for shifting. Torque converter clutch. All right,
2 systems so far.
EVAP and transmission completely different. Neither one of those will cause a misfire. Torque converter clutch, that's 3. So 3 in the transmission, 2 in the EVAP. O2 sensors, heater sensors. Bank 1 and Bank 2 has nothing to do with the misfire and nothing to do with the transmission or EVAP. So that's 3 systems. EGR solenoid, that's 4 symptoms. Now, EGR
4
valve
systems.
stuck. Yeah, 4 systems. Now, that could cause an engine to misfire if it's stuck open at idle. It could cause that. Wow. And then there's more heater codes, misfires. This thing's got to get into a shop to be looked at, but it's possible that and then the misfire could be something completely separate, but it's possible this thing has an engine computer problem. It may have failed. 250,000 miles on it on a 5.4, it may have failed, but misfire on cylinder 2 and 4 and those were there before. This thing probably needs 250,000 miles. If it has not had coils in the last 80 to 100,000 miles, it needs all the coils now.
And if it was misfiring, it could affect the transmission.
No.
Not that pressure cylinder.
Probably not, but it could give some other codes. But this thing's got a bunch of just age codes at 250,000 miles. It probably needs all the O2 sensors because of the heater codes. They're probably failing. But that could also be a head gasket going out that's killed those heaters. I mean, the first thing I'd do is fix this misfire problem, Bank 2, and...
Well, first thing you'd do is give it a good overview and just see...
Is it even worth fixing? Is the engine sound? And if the engine is sound...
Is the coolant level hot where it's supposed to be? Is the oil level where it's supposed to be? Is this thing... Yeah, is it... What do I got? I just want to look at it.
He says he's got 186 megabyte video, but he can't get it sent to us. Well, not at 186 megabytes.
No.
Had to be smaller. That would take like a day to get.
Which is why, and I'm not picking on Don, but that's why when you say there's a code, you have to figure it out before you get if you just have a check engine light, you need to find out why that is before you have 13 codes.
Right. Now, let's take this a different way. If those codes up there were fuel injection, injector number 7 and number 8 circuit open, and I had the misfire codes, and also I had, let's say I had coils, coil primary circuit A, primary circuit B, primary circuit C. I had opens there. I'd say this guy has got problems. He's got multiple codes, and then he's got a PO300, a 301, a 302, 303, and then the random PO300. Okay, he's got a misfire. He's got many codes. He could have 8 codes, but I see what's going on. He's got a coil problem, and it's causing these codes of the shorted coils and causing the misfires. There you go, boom, boom, boom. But with that many systems being affected all at once, either this thing had codes before, and the check engine light's been coming on and off, And now he's got a bigger problem because it started misfiring, and they just haven't been paying attention to that. Or something big has failed, like a computer or a short in the wiring harness, and it started to give us all these codes. These things have the wiring harness wear on top edge of the transmission right behind the, under the cab, behind the engine, and they start to short there, and that can cause this too.
Is it
cake? No.
Could a voltage problem cause it to do all that if he had power issues? No?
Maybe, but it had to be way off, like probably not even starting, like 10.5 volts.
But you don't want to go switching batteries right now because you'd like to have all those codes when it comes in.
Right.
You don't want to be doing that if you don't have to.
You don't want to just clear it and see what comes back?
Well, he did. He said he starts it and they go away, but he hadn't really cleared everything. And it's got multiple things going on.
How did you know it was raining earlier, by the way?
I looked at my phone.
Oh, okay.
And it was fine. It was like weird because we had this giant storm just to the west of us, and it was moving in. Or I'm like, oh crap! I don't want rain. Like, what's going on? It's like disappearing. Like 20 miles out of town, it was just disappearing.
And
then all of a sudden, it's past us and it's green the whole way. I'm like, it's got to be raining a little. And then I could look through the window, and I went over there to close it, but I didn't look out to see if it was wet. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Must not have been that concerning. I don't want it to rain, not until later, like tomorrow.
Why?
I got a big hole in my backyard.
Okay. He does have a big hole in his backyard.
Is it raining hard?
I should have put the top up on my car. I
should have put the top up.
I did.
We had guests last week. Carter was here, and Chris says the funniest thing. Chris says the darndest thing. He said, you should have been on the show in the 60s. Chris says the darndest thing. He says, if I would have known that we were going to have guests, I would have washed my car. And I responded, I said, yeah, it's funny because he didn't even drive that car today. He just would have washed it and left it in the garage.
Just left it right there. All right. You were jet setting yesterday. You flew out and in on the same day. How was that? Was that fun?
It was good. I had a good day. It was it was a full day. I had a lot going on. We had got up at early, like Chris Carter early.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking, no big deal. I do that every day. And got down to the airport for a 6 a.m. flight and was in Chicago by 8 and sat at the airport for a couple hours and did some work I needed to get done, and then Ubered over to meet industry friends at a corporate office building in Chicago. And we went and met with these folks from one of the industry partners a lot of people use and had a good meeting. We got to talk to one of their higher up executives for about an hour about just back and forth learning about some things and telling them some concerns from our industry and if they could help us. And then we went to a good lunch, and I had to leave that just a little bit early because my friend says, he goes, hey, this is Chicago, not Sioux Falls. You should probably go now. And his advice was good. And so by the time I got there in Uber again and I got into the security checkpoint, even though I'm TSA pre-check, and I got through where I need to go, there was 4 minutes before boarding.
Oh, sure.
So that was like, I felt perfect to me.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And a nice lady going back to Sioux Falls helped me out with my phone getting charged because for some reason my cord wasn't working and I didn't have enough battery to show my boarding pass, I was afraid.
Oh.
I was getting down to that level.
Mm-hmm.
So she helped me with that.
Yeah, what do you do there? You just don't get on?
You could go get a ticket from the lady at the gate agent. I'm sure the guy that was there, whoever, I'm sure they could print you one.
Yeah.
But so then I got back home and I had a delivery truck that iState, they've advertised on the show here before. They help us out, Nick over there, and they had a truck that we've been waiting a bit for that we had custom built, a medium duty Freightliner with a nice galvanized Tommy lift or a tuck under lift on the back, but we made our first one of this size with a walk-in side door. And not only is it a walk-in side door, it's got a roll-up door, like a garage door on that side door.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about a door opening up in a parking lot or the wind catching it or how you're going to hold it. We've had swing open doors on most of our stuff, and we're switching over to this roll-up style that we came up with. And so kind of working with those guys to design this, and I wanted to see it because they had to modify the fuel tank on the truck a little bit because there was a problem with the order, the way the truck came, and they had to shorten the fuel tank by about 15 gallons, and we kind of wanted to see how that looked. We had a 100-gallon tank. Now it's about a 85-gallon tank, which works fine for us. And then they also made, and I couldn't see that because it was after hours, but they made a plate inside that I can put down and cover up the footwell where the steps come in. So if we need to lay pallets there on a particular day and we don't need the walk-in door, we can still use all the floor space.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to see how that looked before we sent it over to the vinyl shop to get it all made up to be Nordstrom's special, like we like to do them. Make our trucks look super, super good when they're going down the road, and before it goes over to our friends at Pride Neon Signs, Pride Vinyl over there. But yeah, and then my wife and I had, before this meeting came up in Chicago, we had planned to go out that night to go to the Jeff Dunham show at the Premier Center. And I told her I was going to Chicago. She goes, well, you get rid of the tickets. I said, no. I said, I can do this. We can make it.
Yeah.
And so
he says that a lot.
So we can do it. So we got back and had a good meal. We tried another one of the contestants in the pork showdown in downtown Sioux Falls, and made it over to the Jeff Dunham show by a little after 7. And he started late.
Perfect.
It was perfect.
Uh-huh.
And so I had a great time. It was a good night.
I'm exhausted. I'm going to go take a nap now just listening to your day yesterday.
I did not get up and exercise this morning, though. I did sleep a little bit longer this morning. Yeah, so.
Hey, you want my $1 million idea?
Oh, you didn't give it off?
No. I decided to hold on to it till the after show.
Oh, so you're still kind of wondering about it.
I'm limiting the potential for, I want only true fans to have my $1 million idea. The services that you guys can belong to, where like you can put in a question or you can put in a car and you'll get notice from other mechanics.
Yeah,
we did this,
like IATN and stuff like that.
I'm going to incorporate that into a code reader. So when I'm in the car, do they have it? I assume they did. So I get in the car, I read the codes, and it says, code P034, and then down below it says, oh, this is flagged because it's been discussed 14 times today on the service. So
they have things like that.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I went to California and we visited a vendor 10 years ago, and the guy was trying to start a company that did stuff like that. You'd get your code read, and then it would give you partners that could sell you the parts that it would suggest. It would give you technicians to suggest. It had a community built into it.
I have a code reader that does that, and I don't trust it. I don't trust it one bit.
So now that's pretty commonplace.
But I want it to be the mechanic, the Mitchell systems, just the conversation that
and you
you're
want that
having
for free.
Well,
no, for him, for the shops.
Okay,
not for me.
It pulls up on my co-reader. It says top technicians report this for this code.
While you're
these are the top. It'll give us like the top 10 repairs, and it'll give a bar graph, and it'll say 40,000 times this part fixed it, 10,000 times this part fixed it, one time this part fixed it. And
while you're in the car, sitting there.
Yeah, when it's plugged in.
It.
But
that's it.
I find that it's wrong a lot of the times. It's kind of like when you go to the internet and you say, hey.
Oh, I wanted to say that earlier when we were talking about go out and look for your vehicle. Don't look in discussion groups. Don't look on bulletin boards for any answer to your question.
No, you need to get to a trusted manufacturer website or a vendor website that's specific. Like a lot of times the guys that are selling towing equipment, they have some of that stuff linked at their websites. You can find different places to go and look.
It's like when you're out and this show, when you say, hey, I think it could be this, and somebody calls and says, well, I got a Subaru, and last year it did this, and it was the flux capacitor valve was bad. But this guy drives a Ford truck, a diesel. It has nothing to do with a Subaru. Well, right, but mine was this.
Yeah.
Huh? You get that a lot when you're out at a bar.
And you get it on the internet all day, every day with discussion groups.
I had a family member the other day, and this is usually where you throw in one of those things where the saying that everybody says, but they asked me how to check their oil. This is an immediate family because they know. They know. My daughter knows. But granted, this person leases all their cars. They don't. When we talked about, do you open your hood? No, there's no reason to. The car is a tool. I like cool cars. I get lots of them because I want to keep changing the lease and getting some. I want to drive my cars. I enjoy driving them. Didn't know that, but sometimes it's so hard. You got to bite your tongue when you're, and sometimes I just laugh, and I laugh so hard they probably wonder what I'm laughing at, because I'm sitting over there sober in the corner, and I'm listening to them talk about, well, you know, I took my car into the dealership today, and they looked at this, and they say I need this, and I go, I'm like, and they go, well, what's wrong with that guy?
That's the evil laugh right there.
Or they say, oh, it's going to be this much. Only a couple times ever have I heard somebody say, yeah, I got to get back to them tomorrow. They want like $9,000 to do that. And I just walk over and go, here's my card. We do that for $4 every day. And I just walk away. And they usually don't, they just go, huh? And they both called. I'm like, oh boy. But I just hear stuff. Or somebody says, yeah, I did that to my car and I get 8 miles per gallon better. And this day and age, you don't know when you can get away with. 10 years ago, I could have said, no, you're full of crap. That didn't happen. No. Oh, it didn't? No, it didn't. It really didn't. But the car people out there, it's nuts. But I have the same thing if I'm listening, like if it's some computer tech guy and he says, yeah, you know, well, what we did is we rebooted the hard drive and blah, 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 put this, and I'm, oh, that sounds interesting.
Oh, I better go.
I should share that information with somebody because it sounded so accurate. You don't know. There's all different levels out there. So I hope that we're giving really good advice most of the time.
I hope so too.
Most of the time.
Yeah. I do.
It is free. It's double your free back if it doesn't work.
That's true. Yeah.
Like on the YouTube channel this morning, that person that had emailed in that they had a knock sensor code on a Toyota of some sort, $3,800 to fix it. And then it ended up being a mouse problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, even that repair, you wonder how far they went before they realized that they had things chewed up from mice.
Right.
You know, how much of that money was spent investigating before they actually got to it? Because if you went in, I'm just going to throw something at Russ here. I'm not trying to put this mechanic under the bus by any means, please.
Because you can't, yeah.
I don't know the situation. Sure. But if somebody came to you, Russ, and said, hey, I've got a Toyota X, and I know I've got mice that have eaten the wiring harness underneath the intake where the knock sensor's at, and you could go right to fixing it, how many dollar repair do you think you got?
$400 or $500 for labor, and well, it's probably about $6 because you're going to have to pull the intake. I think they give you 3.5 hours there, and then some wire connectors. So let's just say $600.
If you can get connectors, if there's maybe it chewed it up really bad and you got to buy a harness or something, that would be a different story. But otherwise,
maybe $1,000 at the very most for a new knock set, because I know you can replace the whole harness. They do sell it. So $1,000 for labor and a harness. Yeah, at a dealer rate.
But I guess the point is when you discover the problem and what has to be done can make a big difference in what the charges end up being.
Right.
And so that's another thing that people will do, and they'll say that, well, that should only cost $1,000 to fix. They don't know the rest of the story.
Exactly.
A lot of times.
And there are times where we just do stuff because it's fair. The new GMC diesel trucks, like 18 and newer, they've made the fuel filter easier to access. You put a creeper on the ground, you crawl underneath, you put an oil filter wrench on it, you take it off, you out with the filter, garbage, new filter, screw it on. It literally, if you pulled up with one, I could throw the creeper on the ground, crawl under, swap the whole thing, and be out and wash my hands in 7 or 8 minutes. I charge $50 for that. The dealership charges $140 for that labor, just for the labor, because that's what it says in the book. And it says 9/10 in the book.
That's the schedule.
That's the schedule. It's in the book. But for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm getting my hands dirty. I'm getting diesel fluid on. I've got to put some gloves on. It's a $50 charge.
If it runs down your armpit, you should charge $75.
Yeah, but it's like it's fair. And if you think it's easier, you crawl under there and do it, because you can do it. You know how to do it. You watch YouTube. Just do it. But if you want me to do it, that's my convenience fee, and I'll throw it in there.
Because there's an overhead for the shop to even exist, no matter where you go. They turn the lights on in the morning, and there's a cost, and so they've got to cover that, and it doesn't all equate all the time. It's just kind of this is what that time was worth.
But you still got to be fair. It's like some of those cabin air filters. You know darn well that some of them are 2 minutes, 3 minutes to replace, and some places are charging $100 to do it. It's like, yeah, okay. But then there's other things. A diagnostic fee, we're looking to find out what's going on. You can't find it. 3 other shops can't find it. it's not going to be cheap, and it's going to be fair for every minute that was worked on it, because you've got a place that's done it multiple times and they know where not to waste time. You know, we're checking these things, we're finding your problem, we're going to get you back on the road correctly at the best price we can. So there's different things, but some of those, I know I really think there should probably be some certifications for mechanics.
Well, sometimes too, I think like
Licensing, I mean, not certifications.
when you
Be so hard to monitor.
I know, that's the problem. That's why we think there should be some things, but it's just so hard
to monitor. Once it got into the bureaucracy, it would turn into something else it never started as.
And that's horrible. It would cost so much more than what it's worth.
Well, and I always think of there was a time, you know, hey, you did this work for me, and I know it. You wrote down, you know, whatever it was. You wrote down 9/10. It only takes you 20 minutes. But at the same time, I don't think that I would be too happy if you came back to me and said, yeah, it's going to be $1,500. What? Why? Well, I put the wrong bolt on it and it broke, so I had to get a new one. And then when I tried to put that on, my tool broke. So I have to have you cover the tool too, because I didn't really know how to get this one done that quick. So it took me 4 hours. So I'm going to have to charge you for all 4 hours.
That's what is it? If people said what they like that would have been a perfect case for that movie Liar Liar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah.
Well, why did it cost so much? Well, I was drinking my coffee back there and I spilled some on me, so I had to go home and change my shirt. So I had to charge you a little extra for that.
It took me forever.
That's a great
Yeah,
I worked on it for 4 hours.
Great
We've got someone who's recently helped us out at the shop, and that's all I'll say. They don't work for us. They like contracted, and the last few times they've been there, my bill is way higher than I know it should be, and the hours are in there, and I'm like, guys, don't talk while they're here, because they bill us for while they're talking, you know, and it's more than one person that happens with. I'm like, all right, this job takes 3 hours and you billed us for 6. No chit chat. Exactly. So I'm like, shut up, go to work.
Hey, we did pretty good on that one.
Yeah, that one I caught. All right. Let's get out of here while we're still around.
Let's not go down a path we shouldn't here yet.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for watching the YouTube channel.
I'm already changing the title right now. I've uploaded. I was over here like, what's he doing? And Chris is like, 1 second more, and I'm going to say,
wonder.
And I'm like, I'm uploading a new picture because I've got to change our title to something about towing, because it was like we had
a lot of towing stuff.
All these towing things.
It was a heavy towing day. All right. See you later. Thanks, everybody.